Hello, Katrina with BLD Designs here. I'd like to show you how to do the measurements for your mobility support or balance assistance harnesses. Both of these harnesses measure the same. Okay, the first thing I recommend is have a printout of the information packet available, because this has all the information that you'll want to reference for choosing the details for ordering your harness, as well as the measuring instructions. The measuring instructions have some nice diagrams that will help you find the landmarks on your dog's body to do the best measurements. And also on the back page, there's an order form, which is a great place to record and write notes as you do your measurements. Okay, so the tools you will need is a measuring tape. If you have a cloth tailor's measuring tape like this one, this is ideal because it's soft and flexible. These can be found at any art, craft, or sewing shops. Now, if you don't have one of those, you can get creative. Grab maybe an old dog leash or a string and use that to do the measurements around your dog's body, and then you can hold that string up to a regular measuring tape. And then finally, a couple of tips. If you have some tape and a piece of paper, there's a few measurements that are easy to do with the paper taped to the wall, so we'll show you a few tricks there. Finally, get out the best treats you have. Use high-value treats that your dog loves. Soft treats are best, so he can nibble on them. Use the treats to lure and distract your dog while you do the measurements. I want to point out before I take the harness off the dog that his withers are right here, and just behind that where the saddle sits, we refer to as the sweet spot. These are the two locations you will use to take your measurements from. We're going to demonstrate the measurements on our mannequin dog and then also on a real dog, Kepler. Measure height from the top of the withers to the floor. This measurement should be taken in a straight vertical line from the top of the shoulders straight down to the ground. If using a flexible measuring tape, do not bend the tape over the dog. Measure the girth. This measurement goes around your dog's ribs, behind the front legs at the deepest part of his chest. Start the measuring tape at the sweet spot behind the withers, go down under the deepest part of his ribs, and back up. Measure the belly. This is similar to the girth, but the bottom of the measuring tape will be further back at the notch where your dog's ribs come together to join the sternum. We'll show you these details on Kepler. Please avoid measuring like this. Measuring the waist or having the measuring tape too far back under your dog's loins will give inaccurate measurements. Measure the dog's width. The measurement we're looking for is how wide your dog is at his ribs where the harness will sit on his body. Bird's eye view method. Stand directly over your dog, looking straight down over his body. If you touch one hand to each side of his ribs, how far apart are your hands? As we move on to work with my dog Kepler, I'd like you to notice how my helper is holding the treats and allowing Kepler to nibble on them, which helps lure him into position and keep him distracted. Now, it's really important that you take each measurement a couple of different times. This will yield the most accurate results. If your measurements are within an inch or so, you're doing really good. Now take your dog's height, girth, and belly measurements as we discussed earlier. Measure the belly. Find the back of your dog's rib cage and then count 3 or 4 ribs forward. Follow these ribs down to the notch where the deep part of your dog's ribs curve up toward the flanks. Settle the measuring tape into this little notch by seesawing the tape measure back and forth, and then bring it to the sweet spot. Measure snugly to get an accurate measurement. Here's another way to measure your dog's width. The door method is more accurate. Lure your dog through a partially open doorway. Have him squeeze through it. Then measure the gap of the door when your dog is halfway through. Here's a different way to take your dog's height measurement. Get out a hardback book, a pencil, and tape a piece of paper to the wall. Lure your dog into a heeling position between you and the wall. Press the edge of the book against the wall and then lower it down to touch the top of your dog's withers. Release your dog, I just threw a treat here, and then mark underneath the book. Then measure from the mark to the ground. Now let's move on to measuring the person. We need both your wrist and hand height to determine the right handle size. Measure the hand that will be used on the harness. We'll show you two methods, with and without a helper. First, we're going to measure from your wrist to the ground. This is the same way a walking cane is measured. Wearing normal shoes, stand comfortable and balanced. Steady yourself with a cane if needed. Allow your arm to relax at your side. Measure from the wrist joint to the floor. And repeat. Move around, stand up straight, relax your shoulders. Be sure your arm is naturally relaxed, neither bending or straightening your arm, and measure again from the wrist to the ground. Next, we're going to measure your hand height. For this measurement, hold a pen in your hand as you wish to use the harness handle. Stand wearing ordinary shoes, balanced and comfortable, with your arm relaxed in the position that feels best. Measure from the pen to the ground. Now shake it out, stand up tall, and measure again. If you do not have a helper, try the wall method. Tape a piece of paper to the wall and have a pen handy. For the wrist measurement, stand up tall and relaxed as described earlier. Arm relaxed at your side. Press your hand and wrist to the wall, then use your opposite hand to mark the height of your wrist on the paper. Do this a couple of times. For the hand measurement, hold the pen in your hand as you wish to use the harness handle, with the pen tip pointed toward the wall. Stand next to the wall and mark the paper. Again, do this a few times. Finally, measure from the wrist mark to the ground and the hand mark to the ground. I'd like to give you a tip for measuring for the leather harness handles. Remember that we can make these at any height, any size you need. So what I want to do is I want you to think about what feels right when you hold this handle. But we know that the viewers at home don't have a handle, right?
Right.
So let's pretend that this leash is going to be the harness handle. And I'm going to pretend to be your dog here. So I would like you to hold that the way that you will use their harness. So if you're doing pulling or counterbalance, tell me what feels good to you.
I'm going to say pulling, so I'm going to go right there.
Right about there?
Perfect.
Okay. So that feels good to you? All right. Now I'm just going to take the measuring tape and measure right to where the strap is coming out of his hand. And this is 31.5. Thank you for watching our measuring video. We understand this is a lot of information to digest. Please don't let the measuring intimidate you. Just do the best you can. Seriously, try not to stress or worry about the numbers you get. Remember, we always review the measurements and details before making your harness. Rest assured, we'll let you know if something looks off. Our pre-production triple checking process ensures that we have a full picture of your dog's proportions and your handle needs. Also, our great fit guarantee ensures that you'll get the right fit. If for any reason the measurements are off, we'll correct it at no charge after you receive your harness. This is usually as simple as sending you a new strap to swap out. If the error was on our end, we'll cover the shipping of the new parts too. See guarantee details in the information booklet or on our website. We are honored to be trusted with your service dog equipment. Please feel free to reach out to us if we can answer any questions or if you need anything. We are here to help. Email us orders@boldleaddesigns.com or call 303-856-3012.